Hi everybody, all my followers, be welcome to another video. So the video today, it's on a 2010 Vauxhall Insignia, and the engine on this is 1.8 petrol. Not really sure what the engine code. Mention the engine because that's where our problem is. So I'm not going to, actually I will start the engine just to show you. The problem is, I need to press the clutch. I don't want to let it to run for too long because we're gonna have to do some work on it. But as you can see, we have engine light is on. Okay, so we are going to turn the engine off again, and let's go and plug the maxies and see what we have. Okay, so here we have our car details. And we're gonna move in to scan the engine because it's the only thing I'm really interested. I might do a full car scan at the end. No, it's actually doing it now. Okay, and here we are on our first menu. Let's gonna go straight to our engine. Okay, straight in there. Let's just going to see if it tells me which engine we have on this. I don't know if it does tell me. There's a little bit of glare. I don't think it will tell me my engine code. No, it doesn't. This is all ECU related. Anyway, let's go and look at my trouble codes. See what we have. Fuel trim system lean. Okay. Fuel trim system lean. Is this gonna be what I think it is? It's gonna do something here. It's gonna go to some live data. It's gonna go to my fuel trim data. So let me put a good selection of stuff here so we can look and see exactly what is going on. Okay, so let's gonna start the engine. I put a few values here that I think is the ones that I'm gonna need the most. And let's go into the clutch. Start the engine. There we go. So at the moment, because it's on a loop, my loop status is open. These values are not really gonna change too much, but we'll let them to close and we'll see what happens. Here we go, fuel control loop is closed and my values start to change. And it start to cut in fuel in there. It's gonna monitor this. Looks like it's stably a -18. Somewhere around there. Right, let me look. I'm looking at the machine through the... It's kind of doing what's supposed to be doing, so not too bad. My O2 sensor, and that kind of stops in there. Interesting that the short fuel trim is a -15 and the long fuel trim it's 24. Okay, let's gonna do some inspection around the engine and see if we can see anything there. And just before we went, it's interesting to see that these values are starting to change. So can you see that my short fuel trim is now coming back to close to 0, and my long fuel trim is coming down? So because the long fuel trim being positive and the short fuel trim being negative was a little bit of a contradiction. So it looks like the system now is actually moving to the opposite, and I guess because of that was a 24, I'm kind of guessing that the short fuel trim now is going to start to go the opposite, to the point where where the long fuel trim is going to go up as well as the car starts to warm up. So let's gonna wait a little bit longer before we go to the engine, because I want to see exactly what happens here with this live data. So as you've seen, the car was running rich, and my code is for the car running lean. So the car was running rich, and it was obviously cutting fuel. Come all the way to here. Let's see what it does now. Okay, and it's now around there. My long-term fuel trim is start to go up, which means the car is start to adding fuel. I haven't touched the throttle yet, which I'm going to do now, because sometimes the pressures, vacuum pressures, etc., as you rev the engine can make difference. So as you can see, my long fuel trim is carry on going up. Let's just give it a few revs. The car runs fine otherwise, and it sounds really good otherwise, but I can't really feel nothing wrong with the car. But my long fuel trim is definitely high. Let's gonna do a few checks. I think it's time for that. Okay, and on a quick inspection, I can't really see nothing wrong with it. Everything looks good to me. Okay, run the engine. On a first quick inspection, everything looks okay. My fuel trims are now like this. Long fuel trim is really high. Interestingly enough, if I rev my engine to about 3,000 RPMs, somewhere around there, look at that. I have a feeling that I'm going to have a vacuum leak perhaps somewhere, or a bad sensor somewhere, but we're going to do a little bit more in-depth checks, and I think I might carry on with smoke test perhaps, see what we have. Okay, and I think even before I do any smoke tests, might have found my issue. So as I was looking around the engine to see a little bit more stuff, I just thought about this one. I thought about my... okay, let's kind of go back a little bit. If you watch my videos, you've seen a video that I've done on a Astra, I think it was, where the diaphragm on the valve cover was cracked. So I went to check for fuel for air leaks, and I had my easy start can with me, because I was ready to start to spray some around to see if anything would change on the engine. Now I checked the diaphragm on the valve cover. I didn't take the valve cover off, but I looked at that a little bit, that inlet just where the spark plugs are. Check that in there, looked okay, and I start to look around. So yeah, that was fine. Then I start to look at other stuff, and I look at the evap. Engine was running at that time because I started the engine again, and as soon as I unplugged it, actually I'm lying, engine was off, and I checked it, and with the engine off, the valve was actually completely open, was passing. And you might correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that should be closed when the engine is off. So what I'm going to do now here, I have my fuel trims. There's a lot of live data here when you actually go under active tests. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my evap valve, and as you can see, I'm changing the valve percentage and nothing changes on the engine. Let me see if I can close it. When I put it at 0, there's a little bit of difference in there, but it remains, it's going up again. At this point my engine should be doing something different, and at 0%, which means should be closed, these values mainly here, they should be changing. My fuel trim should be going lower because there's no air coming out. There's no air being dragged from the tank. Even though that air comes with vapor, so it's kind of combustible, is also air. So it should make a difference. Let's go up again. Look at that. So closed was at 30 whatever. I'm now 100%, and my engine is doing exactly the same. Now let's gonna go to the engine and let's go and do one test. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna pull this hose out. This is the hose that comes from the tank, and I'm gonna block my evap control valve. I'm gonna have to leave the phone here because the glare is absolutely terrible, but I wanted to see what happens to my fuel trims when I do that. Now I'm going to open the hose again, or connect the hose again. Oh dear. So, as you've seen, all my fuel trims are going up again. But my thing here is, why, if I put my evap to 0, why it doesn't have the same effect? There we go, so it's down to 0 now. My fuel trims, they should start to go low as well. They should go to the same as they were before when I've actually blocked the pipe. So my understanding is that that evap valve is passing. So let's gonna take that valve off and have a look at it. Okay, so my valve is here, as you can see. Now, I'm pretty sure these valves, they should be closed when they are de-energized, like it is now. It should be on the shut position, but just so that I don't get tricked by a manufacturer designed whatever, and it's actually the opposite, we're going to test the valve. But as it is now, you're going to see it's completely open. So that's the airflow. It flows that way, and as you can see, it's completely open. Now we're going to power the valve. So we're going to energize the valve, which, if it is the opposite way, it should then close, and we should have no air flowing through. Okay, so I wanted to hear that electrically the valve is good. Let me put it close to the microphone. So hopefully you can hear the click. So we're going to power it. I'm going to blow air through here, and if it works the opposite, I should have no air flowing. So, powered. It's even worse. It's a little bit less when it's in the closed position, but still allowing air to go through. So I have a feeling that this valve is gone. So let's gonna get another one. Okay, and you know me better. I would have to show you why the valve was actually faulting. So I went everywhere around where I live. No one sells these valves. No aftermarket. Not even the dealer. Well, the dealer obviously sells them, but they don't have in stock. Even if they did, I don't think I would buy one, because they ask £469 for one of these, which I think is a little bit exaggerated. But just to prove that my valve was passing, I opened it. So obviously this is the diaphragm that goes in here, like that, which is obviously put in there, etc. And this is the cap. So I've cut it, and I cut my hand at the same time. But look, when we go around the valve, the diaphragm, so as you can see, come on, focus, and as I go around, look at that side. Boom, there he is. So I made the right call. My valve was passing. Okay, just pour the valve. Brand new, genuine, from Bosch, or a Bosch one. And now we're gonna wait, and then we will be fitting this and hopefully wrap up this video. Okay, and just left night shifts, only had a couple of hours sleep, so my voice might sound a little bit awkward. So I got the part, I got the new Bosch valve. Let's gonna open it. The box came a little bit badly treated, but I already checked. The part is good. As you can see, it's a genuine Bosch part number over there. Okay, looks good. And most importantly, as you can see now, let me see which is the flow is from here. So it flows from right to left. And as you can see now, absolutely sealed. Okay, that's how it should be. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to quick put this back on the car, power up the Maxi Sys, start the engine, load the same live data as before, and we'll see what happens to our fuel trims. Okay, and this battery is not very good. It's a little bit on the low side. I literally just have the ignition on for 2 minutes to load the car details, and it's already like that. Well, he actually started on 11.70 something, and is now already down there. So this battery is not very good. So let's gonna try to start this car as soon as possible. So I'm here on this page now for the live data, fuel trim. All the live data we need is going to be here on the first page and a little bit. So my O2's in there, control loop status, so everything is here. We don't need anything else. So fuel trims, they still, the long term, still a 30 where we left last time. I'm not going to reset anything. I want to let the car to come back to where it should be. And my engine light, I don't know if it's going to go off on its own or not, but we'll have a look. I haven't started the car yet today. Well, I haven't started the car for the last 3 days or whatever was, whenever was the last time I worked on it. So we're going to press the clutch, start the engine. Okay. And we're going to monitor these fuel trims. Let's wait for my control loop to go to close. And as soon as it goes to close, as soon as it closed, all my, there we go, we start to take some readings in there. And there we go, it's closed. And now, let's see what my fuel trims start to do. So I'm not going to be here for too long, just recording this. I'm just going to monitor as well and let the car to warm up a little bit, obviously, and see what happens. Okay, and right now my fuel trims, this is like a minute later maybe, my fuel trims are now, so as you can see, the long-term fuel trim is coming down close to zero. That one went all the way down to negative. It could be that, it could be because this one was, I didn't reset the trim, so because this one was so positive, the long fuel trim, the short, when you start the engine, it just came down, tried to compensate for that one possibly. Or it could be just because of the cold start. As you can see, my O2s are spot on in there, doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which is brilliant. Look at that. They are pretty much okay. No, the O2, that one is not yet where it should be, I think. But let the fuel trims get to where they should be. Look at that, close to zero as possible. So the long term, which was the one that would start to creep up straight away, as you can see, I haven't touched to start the engine. As you can see, start to come all the way down from positive 30. That one is now coming back to close to zero. Let it to run a little bit longer and see what happens. Okay, and the engine is now running for about 16 minutes. Obviously I haven't restarted the engine yet, so for all that matters, the ECU still sees the code that was there at the start. As you can see, my fuel trim, short fuel trim, is bang on around zero, which is good. My long fuel trim, however, is a little bit on the low side. It came all the way, as you've seen before, the valve would go all the way up to 20 somethings, and obviously that will trigger the code. These should be a little bit lower than 10. It all depends on the engine condition, etc, etc. But remember, I haven't reset any fuel trims, any values, anything like that. So let's gonna do two things. One is we're gonna go, actually, let's gonna do something here. Let's come out of this. So my engine light is still on, obviously. Let's turn the engine off. Just gonna leave it just for a few seconds. Let's start it up. Okay, my engine light's still on. Let's gonna clear the light. And let's gonna clear these codes because it should not trigger the code now. Okay, so let's go to clear this. Okay, no codes. Now let's gonna go to special functions, fuel trims, reset. Let's reset that. Okay, so as you've seen, it reset everything. It's gonna escape. Escape. Let's gonna go back to live data. Fuel trims, they should be all zeros. There we go. That's gonna start the engine. And see what it does now. If it goes to -10 still, that could indicate that still something that is not 100%. That, however, could just be the engine itself being... Could be the engine itself that needs some maintenance. Okay, and the car is now here running for the last 5 minutes again. No engine light, obviously. And when you look at now at our fuel trims is now stuck at 7, and it didn't change from there. If I press the pedal, as you can see, it goes back to 7 pretty much. And now it actually came back to 5 now, so it's getting better and better. Obviously the long fuel trims, they take a little bit to get to the right to actually settle. Obviously there's a reason why they are called long-term fuel trims. The car hasn't been driven, which is another thing that needs to be done obviously for the car. As you can see, the car is still learning the fuel trims because we just reset them as well. So it's getting better and better, but anything up to about 7-8% on the long-term fuel trims is kind of acceptable. When was 10 was already, that could start to mean a problem. When it gets to the 20s, where it was when we first got the car, that is what triggers the faults, etc. So I'm really happy with the result, and I'm pretty sure this has been resolved. I'm quite convinced this has been resolved. So I think that's it really. The only thing I want to say is please don't think that a P0171 is going to be caused by this all the time. P0171 is a generic code for a lean condition. A lean condition can be caused by many other issues, okay? In our case was this valve that was allowing air being sucked from the tank. It could have been a split pipe, it could have been many things. A smoke test would obviously help to reveal where the problem was coming from, but I found it before that was needed to be done. So just please don't start to change parts without diagnosing, because as I said, in this case was the purge valve, in your case might not be. Okay, and I think it's gonna be it for this video, guys. What else to say? Hope you find the video somehow useful, maybe the way I approached it, maybe some of the information I put across. Just hope you enjoyed it, really. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do have any questions, any comments, please put them below. And like always, thanks for watching.